Hi there. Welcome to Bourbon Turntable. This is the show that blends the love of music with the love of whiskey. Today, we've got a very special show, a Friday show, and for good reason. And I'll tell you about that in just a minute. But before we get into the contents of today's show, I do want to mention to you Bar Cart Co-op. Bar Cart Co-op is a collection of friends who produce content for the whiskey enthusiasts. Distillers Talk with Alan Bishop and Christy Atkinson. They talk with distillers from across the country and around the world about anything and everything in terms of distillation. It is a great way to learn a lot about some of the whiskeys and spirits that you love. Alan also has a show called One Piece at a Time Distilling Institute. If you are a distiller and you have a question about anything, whether it's grains, fermentation, cooperage, you name it, ask Alan. He'll give you an answer. Alan also has a show that he does with his wife, Kim, called If You Have Ghosts, You Have Everything. On this show, they talk about things that are not whiskey related. They get into, yes, ghosts, supernatural, spiritual, anything that is a little bit unusual, things that go bump in the night. You name it, Alan gets into it. It's a lot of fun. Be sure to check that out. Every Monday night at 9 o'clock Eastern, 8 o'clock Central, you can catch my Whiskey Den with Pat and Mike and Mitch. It is a wonderful show where they have some great guests, they have some fun tastings, and it's always great to hang out with the folks in the chat. My Whiskey Den, where craft whiskey is king. Whiskey in My Wedding Ring with David Levine is an excellent, excellent show that should be a part of your life. David interviews some distillers on his podcast, and he does some excellent reviews on his blog. A lot of times, if I'm in a store and I see something I'm not really sure about, I will look up David's blog and search it and see if he's got a review of that in there. And there have been a few times where it's been there, and he's had something good to say. So I've bought it, and David has not let me down yet. I also want to tell you about our show, Bourbon Turntable. If you're watching on YouTube, please go ahead and smash that subscribe button. We would love for you to be joining us every week. We also have the show available on podcast platform. That could be Apple, Spotify, or Google. I'll tell you a little bit more about how to find us later. But right now, the focus of today's show, and the reason we're doing something on Friday, July 26th, is we've got a couple of birthdays to celebrate. One of which is Mr. Mick Jagger, 81 years old today, the lead singer of the Rolling Stones. Mick once said that he could not possibly see being a rock star past the age of 33. Congratulations, Mick. You're almost 5 decades past that now. Also with a birthday today is our good friend Jason Brauner. Happy birthday, Jason. I don't know how many candles are on your cake. Not that it really matters. Also, we have one of our younger friends, Penny Bishop, daughter of Alan and Kim Bishop. Today is her birthday as well, and she is 9, almost double digits. So happy birthday, Penny. Coincidentally, Aldous Huxley's birthday is today. If he were alive today, I think he would give a rousing "I told you so" to all of us, because Brave New World is what we're living in, it feels like. So no more politics, I promise. So we're going to talk about some things that Jason Brauner has done, and we're going to talk about Mick Jagger's first solo album called She's the Boss. And I went back and I listened to it again, so you don't have to. Well, you can listen to it. There are some good things about it, some redeeming qualities about it, and I'll get into that as well. But first, I want to talk about Buzzard's Roost, and we'll talk some about Jason specifically. But Buzzard's Roost is actually celebrating a 5-year anniversary this month, 2019. Buzzard's Roost was born, and they came out. They started out with 3 barrels. 2 they used to make a small batch, and 1 they used to make a single barrel. So, and from that, now I think they're in 40-ish different states, maybe a little more. Um, they've got the Buzzard Roost whiskey experience downtown. If you have not seen that downtown Louisville, it is well worth your time. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous facility. They have some very creative cocktails there and a real fun tasting experience. They have a new speakeasy that they've opened. They also have a still. There you see Ethan Spalding. He is the distiller with Buzzard's Roost. That is their still. That was when they first installed it. It was not in operation at that point, but they do have a little still there from Vendome. And so yeah, really, really good stuff going on this earlier this year. Jason and his partner, Judy Hollis Jones, were featured on the cover of Whiskey Network magazine. Judy and Jason have just taken Buzzard's Roost and, pardon the pun, they've soared with it. And really, really proud of them and what they've done. Here I am with Jason. Not too long ago, from the grins on our faces, we were probably tasting something outstanding from the bar at Buzzard's Roost, but that is there at the Whiskey Row experience as well. So the single barrel I've got here, I don't know if they have any of these still available or not. Actually, this is a different one. This is the Buzzard's Roost Westport Whiskey and Wine single barrel, which is outstanding. And just giving you some examples of single barrels from Buzzard's Roost. And this is one of the, I think this may be from I don't think it's from 2019, but it may be from 2020. I kind of nurse these things as they start getting low. That's why I've got so many empty bottles in my house. But this is a single barrel from Buzzard Roost itself. And just, again, really, really cool stuff going on there. So make your way out to the Whiskey Row experience. I want to show you this bottle as well. This one I was reaching for. I just reached for the wrong one. This is the one I'm not sure that they have any more of. It is a Founders Select bottle that was sold at the Whiskey Row experience with Buzzard Roost. I had commented on this, I don't know, a month or so ago when I posted an Instagram talking about my favorite whiskeys from the first half of 2024. And this was on the list. It is straight bourbon whiskey. I believe it's 7 years old, from sourced from MGP, 115.8 proof. And you can see the signature of Mr. Brauner on there as well. So to Mick and Jason and Penny and Atlas Huxley, happy birthday. Cheers. So this thing is outstanding. Highly recommend it. Get a nice butter pecan in there, vanilla, caramel, some black pepper, some cherries. Very rich, very oily, a little bit of oak. And I like to say it's got enough oak that it makes you want to reach for another sip. So it's kind of dangerous in that regard too. But congratulations to Buzzard's Roost and everything that they have accomplished over these 5 years. It's been a lot of fun to watch it and to enjoy it. And congratulations to and happy birthday to Jason. You know, one other thing on Jason is recently the 2024 class of the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame was announced, and criminally so, Jason was not included on that list. Jason needs to be in that Hall of Fame when you consider what he's done with Bourbon's Bistro, which was the first bourbon-focused restaurant in the world. It was named greatest bar in the world, I believe, in 2023. And I think he's around 18 years strong into it. Uh, that in and of itself is worthy of being in the Kentucky Bourbon Hall of Fame. It is the destination for folks that are on the Kentucky Bourbon Trail, and he's supported he's supported a lot of distilleries buying single barrels back before people really wanted their single barrels. I'm looking at you, Four Roses. So there's a lot of history there. There's a lot of support there. Jason was supporting bourbon before anybody else was, really, that wasn't just distilling it. He was one of the leaders in the bourbon tourism movement. So for that alone, Jason needs to be in. But if you tack onto that the success from Buzzards, Roost, and how he and Judy have taken that brand from 3 barrels to what it is today. And I made a list of what I could remember their brand offerings are, and some of them I think are always available, and some are just special releases. But uh, there's Char One bourbon and rye. There's a toasted barrel bourbon and rye. Toasted barrel rye is one of my favorites. Still waiting on that barrel proof toasted barrel rye, Jason. So, I'm going to keep asking. There's also a barrel strength bourbon and rye, a single barrel rye, which looks again like that. There is a toasted French oak bourbon. There is an American whiskey that came out this year. Really, really good stuff. They take their sourced whiskey, they age it in a secondarily used proprietary barrel. So they take one of their old barrels, put this whiskey in there, and age it a little bit more. Really good. Really, really good. Then one of my other favorites is Cigar Rye. Hopefully, batch 4 Cigar Rye will be coming out this fall. There's a peated barrel rye, which was a pleasant surprise to me how great that is. And they've also come out this year with a bottled and bond bourbon, which right there, a wheated bottled and bond bourbon. So it is I think it's the only secondarily aged bottled and bond product that I'm aware of. If you know of one, let me know. I asked Jason about it. He didn't know that there was one either. So anyway, lots of great stuff going on at Buzzards Roost. Congratulations to all of them. And you always have the support from myself personally, from the show, and we want to promote you guys and what you're doing because you're doing it the right way. All right, so let's go on to our solo album in our solo albums and single barrel show. And we're going to talk about Mick Jagger, his first solo album, which was called She's the Boss. And there's Mick on the cover. This album came out in 1985. It was a little controversial within the Rolling Stones because Keith was not happy. So after the Undercover album that came out in 83, Rolling Stones album Undercover came out in 83. Rolling Stones were up for a new album deal. And unbeknownst to Keith or any of the other members of the Rolling Stones, Mick had gone kind of behind their backs and struck a 3-album solo project deal with Columbia while they were negotiating the new record deal for the Rolling Stones. That didn't make Keith very happy at all, so he was pretty pissed. So this album, She's the Boss, came out February 19th, 1985. That was the day before my 18th birthday. And I remember going to the record store on my birthday to get myself a birthday present, which was the She's the Boss album. because I was a big Rolling Stones fan, and wasn't wild about the Undercover album that had come out a couple years before it. But hey, it's a Mick Jagger solo album. We've got to hear it, and it was not great. It was one of those things that I wanted it to be great. I wanted to love it, and it it just kind of fell short of what you would expect. I mean, if you're saying, "Hey, I want it to be like a Rolling Stones album," it was not. Clearly, it had mixed, distinctive lyrics, but beyond that, there wasn't a lot that felt like the Stones, and that may not be fair, but that's the way it is. The album had a very 1980s feel, lots of synthesizers, a lot of electronic drums used as well. Uh, Jagger produced the album himself with the help of Bill Laswell and the great Nile Rodgers. Um, and there was really a hodgepodge of musicians that played in there. I think they probably had 5 or 6 different drummers, a bunch of different bass players, you name it. One of the things that is really good about this and kind of saves it in my mind is Jeff Beck played a lot of guitar on this thing. And so you're kind of suffering through a very average song, and then Jeff Beck kicks in with a great guitar solo. So that's to me that's kind of makes the album, looking back 40 years, makes the album worth revisiting. Maybe there were 3 singles that well, it reached number 6 on the US album charts, which was really good. uh, but Keith Richards said of it, he said it's She's the Boss is like Mein Kampf. Everybody has a copy, nobody listens to it. So that that's pretty rough. But uh, it did have some success. Had 3 singles, Just Another Night, Lucky in Love, both of which are okay. They're all right songs. And then Hard Woman is more of a ballad type, and it was pretty lousy. Lonely at the Top is the first track on the album, real upbeat. Uh, Again, Jeff Beck guitars were fantastic in it. But for the most part, it's kind of a forgettable album. Mick went on and did 3 other solo albums, but he looked at the commercial success anyway of this album, and came out in February of '85, and then was that kind of helped propel him to doing a special duet for Live Aid with David Bowie. And they did a cover of Martha and the Vandellas Dancing in the Street. And as somebody that watched Live Aid live, I mean, they were promoting this thing, all for weeks in advance, and all during the show. And they didn't perform it live at Live Aid, but they did it. They'd done a music video, and of course, this is all on MTV. And I'm watching this with some friends, and we kind of made a day of it, because this thing started really, really early over in London and finished up really, really late in Philadelphia. We'll do a show on Live Aid sometime. That'd be fun. But we're really looking forward to this video, because everybody in our group, we loved Jagger, we loved Bowie, so it's had to be great, right? It doesn't have to be great, because it wasn't. It was really bad. The mix was bad. The video was really boring. And then they came back like the next day, and they said, "Hey, they didn't have time to master this before they did showed the video on Live Aid. So give us a little bit. We're going to remaster it, and we'll release it as a single, and you can go out and you can buy that, and it'll be wonderful." And it was still bad. So it just shows that, you can take two really great things, like Mick Jagger and David Bowie, and when you put them together, it doesn't have to be good, because this wasn't. It was just bad. But Jagger went on, like I said, to record 3 other solo albums. There are a couple of good, decent songs out there. There are a couple of tracks off the album. I think it's called Goddess in the Doorway. It's all right. But again, if you're expecting something at the level of the Rolling Stones, you're just not going to get it. And this was kind of in a time where the Stones were really not getting along, especially Mick and Keith. That really started with 81's Tattoo You, which that was basically culling together outtakes and demos from the Some Girls and Emotional Rescue recording sessions, and then bringing Keith in to play some guitar overdubs and Mick in to redo some vocals. And so it turned out to be a decent album, but it wasn't up to the standards that they had set in the 70s. So it took a little while for I don't know, the disarray and the disenchantment between Mick and Keith to blow over. But they're still filling up stadiums and cashing big checks. So good for them, I guess. So that kind of does it for solo albums and single barrels today. Kind of a special happy birthday edition. This is going to be out on July 26th on Friday. Then we'll probably repost it on July 31st. So we hit our normal release day of the week. So I want to tell you before we check out once again about our show. You can watch us on YouTube. You can listen on your favorite podcast platform. We have a YouTube, we have a YouTube page because I just talked about it. We also have a Facebook page where we post all of our shows, including this one. We have a Facebook group where we will post the things that we're listening to and what we're drinking while we're listening to it. I doubt that I'll be posting anything about listening to She's the Boss album out on my deck, but you never know. In all seriousness, if you're a Jeff Beck fan, you ought to listen to this album if you haven't heard it before, or if you haven't listened to it in a while. It's like 40 minutes of your life, but you'll hear some really cool Jeff Beck solos in there, so that makes it worth it. All right. So once again, happy birthday, Mick. I know you're watching because you always do. And happy birthday, Jason. Happy birthday, Penny. And until next time, cheers, love, and free bird. Good night.